With those hot summer temperatures cooling off, it's likely that you're going to get in your shop. I know I am. I'm happy to be back with a brand new video of some badass projects that I'm going to be showing you how to make today. Let's go. We're going to start today's video with one of my best sellers ever, and that's this little keepsake box. This thing is super easy to make, quick, and super profitable. Check this out. So for this particular project, I'm going to be using some of this 1 3/4 inch thick ash. I'll also be adding some contrast for that ash and use some of this exotic bubinga. But you got to make sure to smack that ash before you start. Know what I'm saying? Over here at the table saw, I'll get my fence set to 3.5 inches. And say you don't have any stock that's 1 3/4 inch, simply make this out of 1.5 inch. That stock is easier to find. Make sure that you slap on your PPE. I failed to mention the bubinga I'm using is 1/4 inch in thickness. Now we'll take that stock of bubinga, and I'm going to get one ripped to 1 3/4 inch. And I'll mark the center of my piece of ash that's 3.5 inches. I'll mark that at 1 3/4 inch. I'll get that ripped in half right here at the table saw. Grab yourself some clamps. And we'll add a dab of glue. 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 And we'll get this clamp together. And I like using these little tools. I'm not sure what they're called, but they work really well for getting any squeeze out cleaned up. And we'll take this and set this to the side for a few minutes. And a little pro tip, I like to keep a little container of some Clorox wipes laying around, just in case I need to clean up any glue spillage or any kind of grime or grit. Works very well. All right, so we know that the thickness of our glue up is 1 3/4 inch. I want my front and back of this box to be 1/4 inch taller than that 1 3/4 inch. So I'm going to get 2 pieces of my bubinga ripped to 2 inches. Don't forget to smack that like button and hit subscribe. Be sure that you hit the bell icon so you're notified every time that I publish a brand new video. Now, I suppose I should have mentioned this before getting started, but your length of your stock needs to be at least 13 to 14 inches. We'll go ahead and get both of these ends squared up, and I'll show you what our next steps will be. Now, once you get those ends squared up, from either side, you're going to pull over to 2 inches and make those cuts, and you're going to save the remainder of your piece. Now make sure that you set this longer piece to the side, and I'll show you what we'll do with this later. Now the very next thing you want to do is on both of your 2 inch pieces, pull over to 1 inch and make a light little reference mark. And do that on both sides of both pieces. After that, you're going to want to take your 2 pieces of bubinga and pull over to 8 inches and get these cut over at your miter saw. All right, so we've got our 2 pieces of bubinga and our 2 2-inch pieces. Next, we'll grab 2 squeeze clamps. And we're going to be gluing these pieces of bubinga to the outsides of our 2-inch pieces at those 1-inch marks that we made. Now, if you're going to be using exotic woods, you want to take a cloth with some acetone or even some mineral spirits and help neutralize the oils in these exotic woods. If you don't do this step, your glue up joint won't hold very well. Line up your piece with your 1-inch marks on both sides. Once you've got everything lined up nicely, put a little bit of clamp pressure with your hands and then add your 2 clamps. All right, and we'll set this to the side and let it dry. Now grab that remaining piece of your 1 3/4 stock, and you want to get that cut at 9 inches. Next thing you want to do with either a bandsaw or a table saw is get 2 pieces resawn out of this stock. I'm going to resaw one to 1/4 inch and one at 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to take both my 1/2 inch piece and my 1/4 inch piece and get those cut ultimately to 7.5 inches. Now that my box is dry and out of the clamps, my top is going to be the 1/2 inch piece and my bottom will be the 1/4 inch piece. We'll add a dab of glue. Put our bottom on. And you want to make sure you got equal spacing from the left and right side of your front and back. Once you get that lined up, go ahead and add your clamps. And we'll set this to the side once again and let it dry. Now I'm going to take the remainder of my stock for my lid in the bottom. From the center, I'll come over 1/2 inch from either side. And I'm going to be ripping a slight bevel with my table saw at both of those marks, and then we'll take this to the miter saw and finish it up. I'll take my bevel and get that set to 15 degrees, and at those marks that I made from the center at 1/2 inch, I'll follow those reference marks and make those cuts right here at the table saw. I'll spin that piece and butt that bevel into the fence and line up the kerf of my blade with that second mark I made. I'll make this cut. Now over here at the miter saw, I'll turn my bevel to 15 degrees. And with my short points facing down, I'll make a cut on my right side here. And I'll pull from that long point over to 3.5 inches, and that 3.5 inch mark will be my second long point. So your piece should look like this. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't like the thickness of it, so this is just optional. I'm going to wind up ripping this to 1/2 inch from the top. And before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and hit everything with a light sand of 220 grit. When sanding these exotic woods, you definitely want to mask up. Now, before you glue your handle onto your lid, you want to make sure that you get that acetone or mineral spirits and wipe that down really good. In the beginning of this video, when I laminated the base together, I did this step, I just forgot to show it, but definitely make sure to do so when gluing these laminated pieces that are exotic. Mark out your centers and get this piece glued on. Add a dab of glue, and we'll add a dab of CA glue to help act as a temporary clamp. You can give that a little rub joint and help it stiffen up a bit. Hold down pressure, and there you go. Now, let's get some finish on this bad boy. For my boxes, I like to do a 2-part finish. I'll start by spraying on our favorite finish for dummies, shellac-a-lacquer. We'll let that first coat of shellac dry, and we'll come back and hit that with some hand sanding with a 400 grit piece of sandpaper. I've got a block with some 400 grit sandpaper on it. I'll just lightly hit every area of this box. To get the best finish for this piece, just make sure you take your time with this step and make sure you're consistent in all areas. And I'll use a non-abrasive paper towel to knock some of that dust down. You don't want to blow this dust off because that dust will help fill any kind of micro gaps you may have. That way you get a smooth and consistent finish. This thing is going to look like glass. And there you have it, rock stars. One super fun, super simple keepsake box that anybody can make. There's no hard joinery at all in this box, and it's absolutely eye-catching.